to News Junkies. And today we're going to be talking about, are the gas companies gouging us at the pumps? Joining me is photojournalist, and her name is Kristie Akin, and she's with the Ventura County Star, the Reporter, the Acorn, and a lot of publications right here in Ventura County. And welcome in here, Kristie.
Thanks, Bill.
All right, we're going to talk about gas prices at the pump. And, lately they've been going up and they've been going back down. The question is, do you feel that the gas companies are charging the consumer too much money?
Absolutely.
Well, I happen to
Unquestionably,
agree.
yeah.
See, I happen to agree. Now, normally I don't like to read off of cards because it's just not my style, but I wanted to share some facts with you with this particular segment of News Junkies, only because the information is so much, the volume is just overwhelming and staggering. So bear with me if you would, please.
Oh, I appreciate it. Give me the info.
Okay. You can't turn on television or radio in California these days without hearing that oil companies and their industry associates are complaining that the state can't afford to move to cleaner fuels. Their prediction, cutting pollution from the transportation sector will drive up gasoline prices at a time when consumers can least afford it. Now, that being said, the consumer is already paying way too much at the pump.
Especially in California.
Especially in California. If you take a look at gas prices, not just in Southern California, but Northern California, and even compare that with other states are paying closer to $2 a gallon, maybe just a little over $2, and we're up over $3, almost at $3.50.
This morning I paid $3.45 a gallon.
See, I paid
right.
$3.35 this morning.
Oh, where'd you go?
I went to Arco in Camarillo, so the prices are up there.
Yeah.
And you can't negate the fact that, to me, the gas companies are gouging consumers.
Absolutely. They have been. They always do.
And anytime that you have a hiccup within the system, like they'll say, well, a refinery is going to close down for maintenance. Routine maintenance is what they call it. All of a sudden, the prices will skyrocket. And when they skyrocket, when they start to come back down, they'll go up like a rocket, come down like a feather. And so we see a decrease. And there for a while, the gas prices were close to just right around $3 a gallon, depending on where you went. And I thought, wow, this is going to be great. Maybe they'll dip below $3. And depending on where you went, they did.
Few places did. Yeah.
Few places
Very
did.
few.
Now, I won't mention Costco by name, but that's generally where I go.
They have a pretty good deal on
They have a pretty good deal on gas.
Considering. It's relative, but.
And part of the issue is that the gas companies, this is according, by the way, to the Environmental Defense Fund, they pay out $56 million towards political campaigning of our legislators at all levels, whether it be at the federal level or the state level. And so they've got this special interest group going. And we as taxpayers, too, what a lot of people don't understand is that taxpayers are actually subsidizing the oil companies.
Absolutely.
And so
I'm not surprised. Are you surprised?
I'm not surprised
No.
either. And you have that. And then Governor Brown just recently said, well, we need to spend $300,000 to develop a program to determine if the gas companies are gouging us.
Oh, they could just ask us.
Yeah, well, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure out that the gas companies are indeed sticking it to us and gouging us at the pump. And the sad reality is I'm all in favor of developing alternative fuels that will be long-term in nature.
Absolutely.
And
Well, to help us create less of a dependency on fossil
on the
fuels.
oils, right? And that these alternative fuels will be sustainable long after I'm gone, you're gone, and our grandkids are gone.
Yeah.
But that, those things are in development, but right now they're not cost effective, and they're not being really acceptable or accepted by the general public.
Right. Well, maybe if we spend some of the money that would be spent on trying to determine whether or not the gas prices are fair, some of that money maybe should go into more
And part of the other issue
productive
too,
purposes.
and see, part of the other issue too is that our federal and state governments are also making money at the pump.
Absolutely.
Taxes. When you go to the pump, you're paying not only local tax, but a federal tax and a state tax. And with those three taxes combined, fuels and tires, by the way, are the only two products that companies can actually charge a tax and then tax you on that tax, believe it or not. So you're paying at the pump three different taxes. Tires, you're paying a federal excise tax, plus you're paying the state sales tax.
Yeah.
So we're being taxed to death with that, and so the government, whatever level you want to take a look at, is making money. And recently, you know as well as I do, there was an oil spill up in Santa Barbara,
Yeah.
and pretty major. I mean, 100,000 barrels of oil was lost in that pipeline. Here's the thing. ExxonMobil, who owns that pipeline, had applied to the county of Santa Barbara. And according to an article in the Ventura County Star, the company, ExxonMobil, had applied to the county of Santa Barbara to say, well, we can't transport this oil through the pipeline. Let's do it via ground transportation, via oil tankers, that kind of thing. And the county of Santa Barbara, in their infinite wisdom, said, no, we're not going to allow you to take and do that. Do you realize, this is according to a professor of economics, Mark Schneip, at the University of California at Santa Barbara, said, you know what? The county of Santa Barbara will lose $4 million in
Wow.
revenue.
4 million.
4 million. That to me is amazing. Now, there's a saying in the group that we work with here at Heritage Media that you can't fix stupid. Well, in this case, not even duct tape can fix this amount of stupid by the county of Santa Barbara.
Oh, man.
So I think, given all of this, taxpayers, consumers need to be aware what's happening. And
Yes.
our gas reserves are at an all-time high. So the gas companies, do you realize too, Kristie, that gas companies daily, net, not gross, but net, about $25 million
Wow.
a day in profits.
25 million.
Exactly. So, again, it's one of these things where,
Not surprised.
do you feel like we're getting gouged at the pump?
Absolutely.
Absolutely. So,
Especially when you compare it to 25 million a day and how
Right.
much it costs the average household to
well, if
to
you
go
take a
back and
look
forth.
at that and compare it with other states, if you go to some of the southern states, they're being charged, about $2 at
Right.
the pump. Well, and here in California, about $3.50, $3.75, depending on where you go. And it costs no more to process a barrel of oil in those states as it does here. And refineries, there hasn't been a brand new refinery open, and I can't tell you how long. And do you realize too, that here in Ventura County, we had an oil refinery plant as you drove from Ventura up into Ojai.
Right.
It was owned initially by Shell Oil. It went to USA Petroleum. And because of environmental concerns, and I don't want to foo-foo the environmental concerns because I'm just as concerned about environmental issues as the next person. But because of environmental concerns, they shut down that refinery, and now they're in the process of dismantling that refinery. But because refineries are so few and far in between, that if something were to happen, or they go for this routine maintenance,
Right.
guess what? Gas prices go right through the roof.
Oh, so they can control it whenever they want.
They can control it whenever you want. And that's the point. So, again, the question is, do gas companies regulate and determine the amount of money at the gas pump? My answer is yes, they do.
Indeed. I agree.
Now, we had mentioned the price fixing. Do you realize that there are only 6 oil companies? 6. Now, here are their names: Chevron, Tesoro, British Petroleum, or BP, Phillips 66, Shell, and Valero control 90%. 90%
Wow.
of the market share.
Talk about a monopoly.
That is a monopoly. So you don't really have the competition
Right.
as you would, say, in another industry where you wanted to buy paper cups. You'd have a number of different
Right.
suppliers for paper cups. You don't have that many for gasoline. You know, British Petroleum, BP, you would find that brand perhaps in the Midwest, to the South and those areas. Out here in California, guess what brand? Arco.
Yeah.
It's Arco. So, again, 6 companies control 90% of the market share. That is astounding to me.
Yeah. It's definitely a monopoly.
Yep. So, again, how can we address these issues? I would love to hear from our viewers to find out what their thoughts are.
Suggestions, yeah, definitely. Well, the idea would be to create less dependency on oil. So definitely more walking, more riding your bike. It could go back to urban development, where if we can connect the cities, then more people can commute without fossil fuel or without using gas.
Well, again,
when
good
possible.
mass transit systems.
Right, right.
I've told you off camera that periodically I'll go down to the San Diego area, and I go down by train.
Right, yeah.
And I leave the car at home. Now, what does that do? Number one, it gets my car off the road, so I'm not contributing to the pollution. The train's always going in that direction anyway.
Right.
So,
And you get to enjoy your ride. Your trip is more relaxing when you
It's
get
far more
there. You're
relaxing.
refreshed. You're ready to go. You're not fresh out of traffic. And
right, and I've done the drive 3 times, and every time I drive up, and it's like, I am so exhausted. All I want to do is collapse in bed
Right.
and sleep for the next
Yeah,
2 days.
Exactly. And for most vehicles, it's more cost effective to take the train as well.
It is, yes.
Yeah.
And for me, if you could take a look at all the discounts on Amtrak, but there are various discounts for various parties. If you're a member of AAA, there's a discount. Disabled,
Yeah.
senior, children can ride for a lesser amount. There's ways to save money even
Definitely.
on the train.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I like
We
to
would
park
encourage more commuting.
Well, yeah, by all means. And here's the thing. What I do is I park myself in the car it's the cafe car. And I'll go upstairs and I'll sit upstairs.
Nice.
And when I get hungry or need something to drink, cup of coffee or
It's all
whatever,
right
I can just walk down the stairs,
Yeah.
go right to the cafe, grab whatever I want.
You don't have to stop for food,
Don't
worry
have to
about
stop.
the next exit.
Don't have to worry about potty breaks and
Right,
those kind
yeah.
of things. And
That's great for families then.
It's
Great for
extremely good for
families.
families.
Yeah.
I'm a big proponent of going via rail. So it's one of these things where we need to look at mass transit. And I wish that our cities and counties would develop either light rail systems. Those are things that are underway in many areas, but
Right.
there's always room for improvement, and sometimes
Yeah.
they can be a little bit confusing and intimidating, but once you get in there and start using it, it becomes,
That's where community can become involved too. For people like you, they would be beneficial to have you as an advocate. So maybe you could teach people or encourage people to use it, how to use it, offer workshops. Even people who work for the train would benefit from offering workshops or free rides when you come to learn how to use it. There are plenty of ways to promote something that should be done.
yes, and I agree. So, again, we need to develop cleaner and more diverse fuels,
Absolutely.
and they're needed here in California like never before. But there has to be the research, and there has to be the technology there,
And funding for those things.
and the funding, but we have to have an acceptance by those that are the commuters, because a lot of people will commute an hour or two to get to work. Our freeways are jammed every morning.
Right.
I mean, on a Friday night in Ventura County, I can take you anywhere on the stretch of the 101 where we live, and it's just jam-packed, bumper
Right.
to bumper.
Yeah.
No better than LA.
And Sunday.
and Sunday. I mean, it's
miserable.
amazing. And there's no difference now in Ventura County than, say, Los Angeles County.
Right.
So,
Unfortunately, yeah.
and it's going to get worse. And even if you migrate north, going up to Santa Barbara, it's really just past Santa Barbara that
Oh, yeah.
it kind of frees up a little bit.
Yeah, it's a good 3 adds an additional 3 hours to the trip coming from north to
Exactly.
southbound through Santa Barbara on a Sunday.
It's really amazing. I was coming to Camarillo from the LA area recently, and it would have normally been like a 45-minute drive out of
Right.
the valley. Took me
Take
almost
about
an hour and a half.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's about the average.
It was really amazing. Anyway, we're going to continue on with this topic, maybe in a little different vein as we look at other things when it relates to oil, but we'll catch up with that
All right.
perhaps next time.
Sounds good.
All right. Kristie Akin, thank you so much for joining me.
Thanks for having me, Bill.
All right, we'll see you next time. I'm Bill DeFoi for News Junkies, and it's a production of the Heritage Media Group.